Hi, anyone and everyone. My name is Kim. I own and run the Humble Hermit LLC, Come As You Are Oracle, Music Mama 80. I have 2 YouTube channels, one thriving TikTok that went semi-viral this past May. I have a blog, technically 2 blogs, an Instagram, a Facebook, and a business Facebook. So, in my life, I've had, that I remember, 3 dreams about people I love or people that I loved their people. Revolving around death. Three dreams in 44 years that I can remember. The first one is, pardon me, because I might start shuffling. I should be shuffling. The first one was of a girl wearing a nightgown, a white nightgown, long sleeve, long dress. Looked almost like something you would maybe wear like colonial or Victorian times, very plain cotton. Not too loose, not too tight. The girl had blonde hair, long blonde hair. Like down the back, blonde hair. And she was in a pool. And it was one of those, almost like you would see like at a Turkish like bathhouse, like a long, slimmer pool where you walk in on the one end and it gets deeper on the other end, but it's just like long and slim. It's not like a big giant square pool or a big giant backyard round pool, anything like that. It kind of reminded me of like one of those bathhouse pools, right? And I could see her from above, and then I saw her from below. Like I was looking at her from outside the pool, and then I was in the pool and I was in the water. And at first, from the top, she was lifeless and she was kind of just floating in the water. Her hair long out behind her. Her nightgown kind of flowing away from her but stuck to her body all at the same time. But when I was in the pool and I could see her up close, her eyes were open. She was dead. She was gone. And I just remember thinking, like I'm not going to be able to save her. When the dream happened, I thought it was my cousin, my female cousin. Her and her husband had bought a house, and I had asked my mother if they had a pool, and she said no, they didn't have a pool, but they had a hot tub. And I thought, okay, well, hot tub, not as big as like a Turkish type bath, but definitely smaller than a pool. Because like I said, it wasn't like, like a big square pool that you would find at a school or at a park district, and it wasn't round like an above ground pool that you would have in your backyard. It wasn't that big. I had it in my mind that it was her and that something was going to happen. Maybe her and her husband, would have a few too many and get in the hot tub, and he would get out and go inside and leave her out there alone and come back to find her drowned. That never happened. What did happen was less than a year later, a friend of mine, her cousin, unalived herself, and she was found in Lake Michigan. Never in a million years did I ever think that I would have been privy to that information beforehand and could have possibly said something or stopped something if only I had seen like the actual face. Because when it was in the dream, it was just like a nondescript, like feminine face. Like it didn't even match my cousin's, and I originally thought it was her. And it wasn't. And it's kind of funny that I thought it was my cousin and it turned out to be my friend's cousin. I mean, it's not funny, but I never told her that I had that dream. I never admitted that I saw it beforehand or that technically I knew it was coming. I never did that for any of my dreams. The second dream that I had was it was a hallway, and there was a woman with two children. And I don't, I didn't, there were no faces. Like the faces are just, it's not that they're not faces. It's not like it's like, oh, a gaping hole where a face should be. It's like it's blurry, like it's not in focus. It was a hallway in a house, and the house was on fire, and the woman and the two children were stuck in the hallway. And they didn't make it out alive. I don't remember exactly how many years later, 3 years later, 5 years later. It wasn't more than five, but it was years later. A friend of mine would lose her two little girls in a house fire. She made it, but the two little girls didn't. And after it happened, I remembered the dream. I remembered the dream right away. That dream stuck with me for years and years and years in very vivid detail. Now it's just like a faded memory. And I don't ever write down my dreams because writing down your dreams is manifesting them into reality. And even though I know that these dreams could come true and probably will, I am not going to write them into reality. That is for God to write into reality, not for me. In the dream, all three of them died in that house. And that's not what happened in reality. But when you think about it, what happens to a woman when she loses her two children? A part of her dies right along with them. So in reality, the three of them died in that fire that day. The third dream, I'm gonna have to blow my nose or dab at my nose because I will cry I will cry on video, but I don't want to slobber all over video. The third dream was a little bit different. I had the third dream in I probably had the third dream like in 2017, 2018. And this time I knew who the person was. I saw the person. It was my grandfather. And I'm going to try and do this without crying. I can't guarantee it. Not that it matters, because I will cry in public all day long. I never, ever don't show my feelings. And if I feel the need to cry, I cry because I'm fucking human. So I'm just going to say that. It was a party. There was like a gathering, and it was at a house. And the funny thing is I think it was supposed to be my grandparents' house in Lake Forest, Illinois. Because the way their house was set up, like they had their house and the garage was like attached, but it was like on the side, if I remember correctly. It was kind of like funky shaped. And this was similar. Like the house was kind of like here, and then there was like a garage structure here. My family pulled up, my dad, my mom, me, my brother. We get out, and they all go into the house. I decided to go in the garage. Pardon me. Now the garage is like one of those, you see them sometimes when people have like extra land, the like if they don't, or even if they don't have a garage, they'll build like one of those. It's like metal and it's like a like a half cylinder, like it's a round shape roof, like a dome kind of like. And they tend to be, however long, like if you want to put like one or two vehicles in them. And then they usually have like those big like barn doors that kind of open like this usually, or sometimes they have a roll up. I think it just depends on like the brand, I'm assuming, where you get them from. But they remind me of like hangars, right? Like old hangars, at like an airport, but on a smaller scale, not as big, for like an airplane, not as big. Like one that would look like you would put a car in it. So like a garage, like a extra garage, or storage, whatever you want to put in there. The thing is it was round, but instead of like a garage door or like barn like doors, it had a door, like a regular door, and it was kind of more off to the side than in the center. And I walked up to it and I opened the door. And when I opened it and went inside, it was dark, except that all along the sides of this garage, of this building, there were like these blue, like neon lights that tracked on either side from the start all the way to the end. There were no cars in there. There were no mechanical items or tires or brooms or anything like that in there. There were shelves all along either side of this building. And on those shelves were toys. All kinds of toys. Like toys from my childhood that I had, toys from my childhood that I never got but always wanted, toys from other countries, toys. I was born in 1980. Toys from the 80s, toys from the 70s, toys from the 60s, toys from the 50s, toys from 2000. Like the walls were just lined with toys. And this garage, this building was never ending. When I looked down the end of it to the end of it, there was no end. The lights went into a tunnel. It was like a tunnel. It just kept going. Toys, toys, dollhouses, stuffed animals, games, boys' toys, girls' toys, all kinds of toys. And I remember I came in that door, which was more on the right side of the building, and I walked to the left. And I started walking down, and I was looking at all these toys. Probably like four or five shelves high, taller than me, but not like to the ceiling. Not like to the ceiling. Like they didn't hit the actual lights. Like there was plenty of room in between. And there were gaps because, like if you have a dollhouse, like it's going to be bigger. It's probably going to take two or three shelves, right? So, like, the toys fit on each space perfectly. Like they were placed there. And I'm just standing there. Like I walked up and I started walking along and I'm looking at the toys. And all of a sudden, someone is standing next to me. on my right side. He was a man. And he said to me, he said to me, I always wanted you to have everything you need and not want for anything. And when I turned and looked at that man, he was young. In 2007, 2018, I would have been 37. I would have been 38. And this man was in his 20s, his early 20s. And the absolute joy when I looked at this man's face. And then the absolute heartbreak. It was my grandfather. It was my grandfather as a young man. And I knew in that moment that he was gone. Like he was gonna be gone. Like when I had that dream, there was a clock in my head that started because I knew it was coming. He died in 2021. He was an old man. He was. I realized that in my dreams, either the people I loved lost the people they loved, or I lost the people I loved. When he died, he had no bodily functions. He no control of his functions. He was there mentally, but he couldn't move. He couldn't speak. It's like he reverted back to an infant before he passed away. At the beginning of this year, I had a dream. And I posted about it on TikTok. And in this dream, I'm in a house and it's flooded. Like there's water covering the floor, probably like at least a foot in certain areas, maybe more in others because it's, steps and different levels and all that jazz. And I'm looking for something, like looking through papers on tables and looking through drawers and looking at books on shelves, and I'm looking for something. And somebody comes in. It was a man. I don't know. I don't know who this man is. Again, I don't see his face. And he says, "What are you looking for? Like, we gotta go." Something like that. He says, like, "What are you looking for?" And I'm looking, and I turn and I look at him, and I keep looking, and I'm like, "I'm looking for the keys. I'm looking for the keys. I need the keys. We need the keys." And he says something else to me, and I don't recognize what it is in the dream. So I don't know what he said, but he said something to me. And when I go to turn around, there's no man there. The man is gone. And there are 4 little boys. There are 4 little boys. And they look like they had drowned. but they were there in front of me. I can't see their faces, but they're there. And they tell me where the keys are, and I find the keys, and I don't notice that they're drowned. I'm not paying attention in my mind. In the dream, I'm not paying attention. I don't know that they're already gone. And I get the keys, and I go to the door, and I turn around. And as I'm turning around, I say, "Come on, we gotta get out of here." And when I turn around, they're gone. And I close the door and I leave with the keys. I don't know who these 4 little boys are. I don't know if anything has happened to them since I had this dream at the beginning of the year. I don't know if it's going to happen in another month, another year, another 10 years. All I know is that there were 4 little boys that were either brothers or friends. And someone used to call them the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Because they used to ride around on their bikes together. That's all I know. For me, it's a waiting game of when I'm gonna hear about 4 little boys that don't make it. But for those 4 little boys, they're already gone. This was part 19.